But we all gained weight in the last few years, yes? Yeah. I decided I wanted to try and lose a bit of weight, just the weight I gained in the lockdown. That was my plan. And most people, when they decide to lose weight, there's something that starts them off, spurs them on, kind of keeps them going. Maybe there's a holiday photo and they don't quite like how they look in it. Or maybe they're sitting in a bath of gravy and it's not even for children in need. For me, it was when I sat in a public toilet and the sanny bin opened and I hadn't asked it to. Did you want me? No, but my arse cheeks seemed to disagree. But I tried really hard, and I lost 2 stone. That's all right, isn't it? I lost 2 stone, that's pretty good. That's very kind of you, thank you. I said 2 stone, it was the same half a stone 4 different times. Nobody gives a shit if you tell them you've lost half a stone. Everybody knows it's just 2 big dinners and a chocolate orange and the fucker's back on again, isn't it? But I've always had a belly, even when I was much, much slimmer, I've always had a belly. I always get offended when people think that this is pregnant, like I would ever let a pregnancy get this far. No! But I did a thing the January before last that I think a lot of people do, especially in January. I downloaded a diet app. Now, the phone I was using at the time was a thumb recognition phone. It didn't immediately recognise my thumb, it just kept juddering. And first of all, I thought my phone was just really clever, and it was like, it's a diet app, we've clearly been stolen. And then I looked at my thumb, and it was just covered in biscuit. So I licked the biscuit off, so I thought it might be my last biscuit in a while, and I downloaded the diet app. What came with the diet app was a WhatsApp group of other participants. It was open to all, but my group happened to be all women. And it was so we could support each other and help each other. Everybody knows diets are hard and a bit shit. Also in the WhatsApp group was a nutritionist who was no fun at all, it transpired. One of the women in the group asked a question of the rest of us, a perfectly reasonable question, especially on day 1 of a new diet. She said, I'm having trouble with my sweet craving. Can anybody recommend something that isn't bad for me but will help? And one of the other women responded almost immediately. And she said, I usually find a mug of hot water with 1 small drop of lemon works for me. And I just thought, I'm not going to make it to the end of the week. My suggestion was going to be half a Twix. And the nutritionist, she was called Poppy. Of course she fucking was. She said, can I just chip in? And I misread it. And I was like, chips, hooray, nom, nom, nom. She said, just brush your teeth, that fixes everything. And I thought, that's so unhelpful. The only thing that would help is hunger. If I could eat me fucking toothbrush, because I'm so hungry right now. You daft cow. Cows. There were some recipes that came with the diet. I tried one of them. It was how to make banana pancakes out of almost no ingredients. First time I tried them, just looked like vomit in a pan. Second time, managed to make them look a lot more like pancakes. And I was so excited and a little bit lightheaded from all of the hunger that when I ran from the kitchen to show my husband, I tripped and the plate smashed on the floor. But because it was a really low point in the diet for me, let's call it day 2, I ate them off the floor. Then I had to check to see if the fragments of plate and cat hair I'd also ingested counted as my sins for the week. One of the women in the group got told off as an adult, got told off for eating goji berries. If you've never had goji berries, it's like chewing elastic bands. She got told off because goji berries are full of natural sugar, not really allowed on this plan. She wasn't having Cocoa Pops with cider poured on. She was having goji berries on her bran flakes, some sad sprinkled on some more fucking sad. I got told I called it a diet. What I actually said was, I fucking hate this diet. We don't like to call it a diet. We prefer to call it a way of life. So I said, I fucking hate this way of life. She was right, though, because it was also my way of life from the 3rd to the 5th of January. I started to ask questions. You got a nutritionist at your fingertips. Why don't you try and learn something? I said, I've got some questions for you, Poppy. Is that okay? She said, fire away, anything you like. I said, I've had a cherry. Now, I thought it was okay because it's fruit, but now I'm not so sure. It was on top of a bakewell. Is that okay? I've had an apple. An apple's full of natural sugar as well. It was surrounded by something called, what was it called? Crumble. Is that all right? I've had a banana. A banana's allowed. I mean, I ate it out of a stripper's crotch. Is that all right? She said that was fine. The next thing, it was covered in cream. I think it was cream. I couldn't be sure. It was dark. But the final straw for me, my last day on the diet, or day 3, was when Poppy came on the WhatsApp group and she said, hey, girls, which always pissed me off because all women in their 40s and 50s, fuck off with your girls. Hey girls, can I just check if you all definitely challenged yourselves this week? And I was the first to respond. I said, I've challenged myself, Poppy. She said, oh good, please share it with the group. I said, gladly. I said, I challenged myself. I said, I walked into ASDA. I went to the whoops section. I found 2 Belgian buns that had to be eaten by midnight, and I fucking did it! I was going to say, and I'd do it again, but I have several times over since then.